Hey everyone, welcome. I'm here to show you in this video how to get the most out of your upside down orbital sander mount. So if you scanned the QR code to get here, thank you so much for your purchase. If you didn't, well, they're going to be linked down below if you want to take a look at what this thing has to offer. Basically, the point of this is to take a random orbit sander and turn it upside down to give you a precision sanding instrument that you don't have to go spend a whole bunch of money on a different tool. This will turn what you already have into something very functional. In this video, I'm going to take you through the process of building it yourself from the DIY version. There are put together versions available as well. And then I'm going to show you a couple different examples of how to fit your sander in place. All right, let's dive in. All right, so upon receiving your package, if you order it singularly, it'll come something like this. But you can unwrap it. I try to take care when I pack these things up. You're going to come to a bunch of wooden pieces, some star knobs, and some carriage bolts. And this is what you can expect to see upon unboxing. Now onto the assembly. Now you can use glue and screws if you would like, but I prefer glue and brad nails. I like 1 1/4 inch brads, 18 gauge, and then of course some regular wood glue. You pick whatever you want. It's pretty easy to do. You're going to basically join 2 pieces together at 90 degrees 3 times. The first 2 are going to be the support at the top of the mount. I just apply some glue here thusly, as you see. You can use a silicone brush or something to spread it around. I typically use my finger. Pretty easy. These fit intolerances are pretty tight because I don't want these things coming apart. And a simple brad nail in each of the corners, and yep, one right there as well. And now that piece is done. Moving on to the side supports, there's going to be 2 of each of these. And we're going to repeat the same process as you saw before. A little glue and brads. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And there you go. That's the hardest part of the whole thing. Now we just assemble with some carriage bolts and some wing nuts. Here we go. So before you get started, make sure you have a base, you have that small upper support piece, those 3 units you put together, and 6 star knobs and 6 carriage bolts. I do a pretty good job of keeping these things organized, but if you run into an issue where something doesn't match up, let me know. All that being said, make sure your carriage bolts fit in just like so. Hold them in place with your hand and then flip it over upside down, or I guess in this case right side up, and then place one of your side support mounts with the wings facing inwards. Take some star knobs and attach them, and don't tighten these down too tight, just enough to make them not slip around, and repeat this same process on the other side. Again, making sure your carriage bolts align with the slot so they fit in nice and snug. Take the winged piece again, slide on those star knobs, and you're halfway there. Yeah, you're halfway there. Like lemon on a pear. And back to the assembly here, all jokes aside. You're going to repeat the same process by putting a carriage bolt up through the middle support at the top, and then make sure this last upper support arm is up at the very top with, again, hand tightening only. Now this one's a little differently. You're going to put the carriage bolt through that hole. Now there's no square peg for that into that carriage bolt to go into, but what you're going to do is you're going to tighten this down pretty tough, and what that's going to do is it's going to seat that carriage bolt into that hole there so it doesn't come out, and then you can reattach it, hand tighten again. Now you're set to go, and let's install some sanders. Now I did a video on this a year or so ago demonstrating how many sanders could fit in this. I tested about 8 major brands, and I had some friends do the same, and everybody came back with some really good feedback that this works pretty well. This is an ETS Festool 150, and it is being the first example I'm going to use. I'm going to show you here that you tighten the wings down after you get that taper, but the key here is to pull it back towards yourself and really orient the sander and compress it into that wedge you just made. You're going to take the front support arm and you're going to tighten that down, and you're going to give it a good push right here on the top support. And that's going to create an environment to where the sander doesn't move around. You can see there, barely any wiggle room. And I've been using this setup for a long time. The beauty of this sander here is that you can actually take it out without loosening anything and put it back. It's pretty awesome. No need to undo anything. Just take it out, put it back, and you're good to go. Now, to a random orbit sander that some of you may have. This is a very different design, and it requires very different positioning. We're going to start with the top support arm, and we're going to put it down very close to the front, and you're going to see there, that's kind of how it looks. I'm then going to bring the wings in. I've removed the dust bag to give you a better visual. We're going to bring the wings in so the top portion of the wing rests on the body of the sander, right? The actual, like, I call it the neck of the sander. Then watch carefully. Did you see that? You extend the wings inwards and you get this type of inward pressure. Boom. Look at that. Really compresses the sander into the mount to the point where no wiggle room at all. And you're able just to pick it up and move it around. That thing is in there. Now you can't just take this sander out and sand like normal. You have to undo a star knob, but hey, you know what? Only takes a few seconds. Now you're ready to clamp it in place, and let me give you some examples. So as I'm giving you some examples of sanding some burn marks off of laser cut pieces and also some edges on some really small fine parts, you're going to see this works really well. But you guys are makers. If you have this or even watching this video, you're a maker, and kind of figuring out how this is going to work for your situation, for the sander that you have, is actually kind of a cool little journey. Once you figure it out and you realize, wow, that actually does work, it's a pretty cool experience. I will say that. It's been good feedback a lot from a lot of you people who have bought this. This is our #1 selling item so far, and I really appreciate the support. Don't forget, you can sand curves very easily, not only on the top like this, but you're also going to be able to sand down a curve like so, leaving the sander as well. Pretty functional piece. Hope you enjoy. So designing a product for a multitude of brands is a little tough, meaning that this thing has to fit most major brands. Now, I did a video on the main channel, I'll link it down below, where I tested about 7 or 8 major brands, and I've also had some friends test ones that I didn't have, and all with great success. However, there is one workaround that you may need to do if you own a sander that, well, requires this. Let me show you. So I typically carry a skinny razor in my pocket as a pocket knife, but you might need to use something like a church key, as you see here, a paint can opener. And yeah, some sanders have an on-off switch that gets a little bit, kind of impeded when this is fully assembled. Now, you can either do that solution, or you can simply turn it on, mount it, and then plug it in. And when you plug it in, it turns on. Now, I've gotten some feedback about that, and well, let me tell you. So the feedback I've gotten from people who say they have to plug it in and unplug it, it really isn't that big a deal. They wish it was a little different. Maybe an iteration of a design change may come in the future, but for now, that's what we got going on. And of course, if that happens, I'll update this video and the QR code. Let me show you some reasons and some pieces on why I even made this thing in the first place. Check it out. So when I had this idea that I might even start this CNC business, I realized that these parts needed a bunch of sanding. Now, I used to clamp this sander into the workbench with a vise or something, and I actually broke a sander doing so. I figured there was a better way, so I do this to sand every single piece that I manufacture. This sander now, this Festool, has been upside down for the majority of its life, about 2 years, and it has been running, I can't even tell you, countless hours. It still works really well. And I don't know what I would do without this sander mount. So just from me to you, that's why I did it. So there you have it. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, you can send me an Instagram DM or you can send me an email. I'll leave both down below. And happy sanding. Thanks again, guys.